Hello, my name is Ajahn Jyotipalo. Welcome to Sauntering into Silence. I came out here yesterday to try to film the third part of the near-death experience videos, and it just wasn't flowing. One thing to mention, so relationships, as all of us know, can be complex. Partly what I want to do is talk about the relationship I had with the two friends and how that contributed to the near-death experience, and also how I learned a lot about myself from that experience, and that's why I really have no resentment or ill feelings at all towards those people, and probably at some level could still consider them friends. Even though I haven't seen them for 25 years, I probably would still say that about them, that they're friends. It's very complex, the story, so I hope I can kind of keep it all straight, but I don't want to mention their names, so I'm going to call him Eric and her Jan. So if I mess up, sorry about that. I knew both of them through whitewater kayaking, and Eric in particular was somebody I would consider to be kind of a good friend, actually, at the time. And he and I were the same age. We knew each other primarily through whitewater kayaking. He was also an experienced mountaineer and was teaching me how to ice climb, and we would do road trips together. When I was with him, everything was fine. We were friends. Now Jan I knew also through whitewater kayaking, and she would show up with other people that I knew and kind of socialize together, but she wasn't anyone I'd consider a close friend. She just an associate or someone I knew. But when the three of us decided to go on this trekking event, Jan and I started spending more time together, basically to try to get me in shape. We would do hiking together and go camping. So we got to know each other, and she was somebody I liked and trusted. And so it was interesting, when I was with one of them, either one of them, things were fine. But when the three of us were together, I was invisible. It's really kind of bizarre to explain or to think about. But yeah, I literally would just not even exist. They'd be having a conversation and exclude me, and it was to the point, it was so disturbing that I almost didn't go. But I didn't follow my intuition, and that's part of this whole story is I needed to learn about myself, and that's what I got out of the experience, and that's why I don't really have any resentment towards them. And there's kind of an interesting twist at the very end of the story. So what happened was, though, after the event happened and I came back to the United States, I was telling mutual friends what had happened. And I remember one person saying, there's something you don't know that probably might explain part of this to you. And it turns out that Jan had been in a relationship that was abusive. When she was trying to get out of the relationship, or after she was in the relationship, Eric had been a really good friend to her, helped her through it. And so they had this bond that was really close. And so that's why when the three of us were together, I was kind of invisible. Now, Jan and I were fortunate that from each of our employers, we were given a month vacation to go do this trek. Eric had gone over, I guess 2 or 3 months early to be a raft guide. While he was there, he got involved in a relationship. His new girlfriend came along with us. And so at first I was like, great, that'll break up the dynamics of the three of us. But it ended up, I was still invisible to Eric and Jan, and also to Eric's new girlfriend. So made things actually kind of worse in some ways. That's kind of why the situation wasn't so great when we were there. Now, I have no resentment towards any of them, because this whole event, what it taught me was I needed to look after myself. Eric, also being a mountaineer and experienced emergency medical technician is what his job was. So I always had this sort of feeling with him, was like that if we're out there in the mountains and I'm sick, he would know that and be able to tell me what I needed to do. But because I was invisible to him, he didn't really see it or ignored it. I came back and I really realized, I need to learn to take care of myself. For the next year, before I quit my job and moved into an ashram, I really did that. I worked on myself. I learned how to do hiking. I learned how to take care of my body, and it was a really good year. I ended up, though, at the end of that year, I decided to quit my job and I moved into an ashram. And the last thing I did before I left to move to the ashram was I threw myself a going away party and invited all of my friends, and Eric and Jan were part of that, and so they came and said goodbye. I was at the ashram for about 6 months and just decided I wanted to do some more world travel. So I actually went back to Nepal and did the same trek that I had this near-death experience on. Because I learned so much about myself and how to take care of myself, it was just a great time. At the end of it, though, I decided to go back to the United States. The last day that I was there, I was walking in the tourist area of Kathmandu, and I ran into Eric. And he was shocked to see me because he thought that I was still living in this ashram. The next day I was flying back to the States, so we decided to have breakfast together, and it was really touching. And he actually asked about, he wanted to hear again the story of what happened to me, because it was actually, I think the thing that was the most disturbing is that when these two abandoned me, it was about 2 weeks that then I kind of traveled on my own after I got better. I was really kind of worried about them, like, oh, they're probably, really concerned about me, and they're way out there in the mountains, and I was looking forward to seeing them, to tell them, oh, yeah, everything's fine, don't worry. When I did run into them, as invisible as I was before, I was equally as invisible to them afterwards, and that was really disturbing. So, here a year later, I'm in Kathmandu, a year and a half later, I'm in Kathmandu, and I run into Eric. And he and I have breakfast the next morning, right before I fly out. And yeah, he, like I said, wants to hear the story, so I tell it to him. And he actually acknowledged his fault in that part of the story and asked for forgiveness. And I was really touched by that, and I immediately forgave him. So he and I were perfectly fine. We were before, but it was really touching to hear him acknowledge that. So in that sense, yeah, they're still friends. So that's it. Okay, so it was a little bit disconjointed telling the story. I tried to patch it all together. I hope it works. And I will probably have at least one more video coming out where I'll talk about as soon as the near-death experience happened, just how it, just the complete changes in my personality, and just the way I viewed the world was so completely different. I had been a square peg trying to go into a square hole my entire life, and then all of a sudden now I'm a round peg and I'm still trying to go into the square hole. Just nothing how I had lived life before made any sense. It was quite a long process before I really got into meditation and Buddhism and found my footing. I'm not saying that's what it needs to be for anybody else, but for me, as soon as it clicked, I knew that that's where I was going to be. And I've been in Buddhist monastic communities now for almost 25 years. So wishing everybody well.